Hi, I am Clements, and I used to make stuff like this. I solved it! Almost. Not quite at all. No, I've completely forgotten the solution. I have not been able to figure it out again. I haven't pulled up the video to cheat again. It's got me completely stumped. So really the only option now is to make more puzzle cubes. So there are 4 cubes that I want to make today, and I have supplies for them in my mystery box. Anybody watching Gotham? It is such a good show. I'm currently watching season 4 and season 2 because I started on my own and then I started rewatching it with Lisa. It's so good. So the first puzzle I want to do is another dice puzzle. I want to model it after the original woodblock one. These shapes were quite a bit easier to solve, and I also want to Sharpie this one with the same color scheme. So I'm going to do it the exact same way I made the other dice cube using the plastic solvent. So I'm going to make this one real quick. If you watch the first puzzle cube video, it shows how I made this one, so I won't spend too much time on it in this video. All right, my original wood pieces recreated in dice. I'm just going to color them, and I think that gets pretty messy. Thank you. Well, these look really cool. I like the way these came out. It'll be neat to see it once it's in the solved puzzle. Wasn't too much work, a little bit more difficult just going around all of the rounded corners, and I couldn't quite get the pen into all the nooks and crannies, but it still looks pretty good. Let's solve this one, which hopefully I remember. I like it. That's cool. All right, one down. How did I make this one so difficult? Whatever. Puzzle 2. Beads. So making the same type of 27-piece puzzle cube, but instead of individual cubes, I'm going to use wood spheres. Now, just like the wooden cubes, I got these wooden spheres from Michael's. Now, these are actually beads, so they do have holes through them. They did have some larger spheres that were just actual spheres without holes in them, but those seemed a bit too big. I liked this size of sphere. It felt about the right size, about the same size as the dice, and I think that's a nice size to hold in your hand. So I didn't want to go with the bigger ones. I really wasn't concerned with the holes through them. I figured it'd be a little bit more work, but I should be able to fill them pretty easily. So I actually attempted filling them with some plastic wood, and that didn't really go so well. And I found some wood balls at Michael's, and check it out, 27. So I can make a full cube with 1 pack, no extras, but I'm also not short any. So that's really cool. Unfortunately, these are beads. They're not just solid spheres, but being beads isn't too big of a deal. I'm just going to fill them quickly with some plastic wood, and that shouldn't take too long. Weird. Well, that didn't really work that well. I mean, it worked, but now my spheres are quite I do have an idea about what to do next. I do not think it'll work. I will be pleasantly surprised if it does, but I have no expectations at all. But I have some sand. Pour my spheres into a container, add some sand, close, and shake. Okay, any guesses as to whether or not that had any effect as far as removing the excess plastic wood and making them nice, clean, round spheres again? I don't think it did anything. Maybe it, I don't know. It might have had an effect. I guess I'll do it a little longer. I mean, it's doing a little, but I think I'd have to be shaking this for hours to get any actual results. I mean, some are okay, but some of the ones that are really caked with excess plastic wood, I don't see them getting nice, round, and spherical anytime soon. So it worked slightly better than I expected, and since I didn't expect it to work at all, but I definitely wanted to try that as an experiment. But I still need some spheres, and I think I have a much better idea for unbeading these wood beads. So plastic wood was not at all the right choice, at least not to fill the entire hole. Something like this JB Weld wood epoxy would probably been a much better way to go. It would have been a lot easier to work with, not nearly as messy and pasty. However, after something that Lisa said, I think the holes might actually be a good thing. So if I just have two spheres, and I try and glue those together, that is a tiny point of surface area for glue, and that's probably going to snap quite easily. So I might as well use those holes by sticking a dowel through them. Now I have a ton of surface area. So this is definitely a case of where the project knows best. Now again, I'm going to copy the same format for this original wood one, because stacking them in a cube shape would probably be a little bit difficult in trying to glue them as I go, so just working off this template that I already have will just make it a bit easier. And I think I'm actually going to glue it with wood glue, of all things. Let's start with a good old T. I'll just snap these off for now, and then I'll trim and sand that smooth later. Now to attach pieces in the other direction, I'm going to just drill a new hole, which will be a bit tricky. Let's see if I can find the right size bit. So I'm going to use a bit of super glue to just get this attached, and then I have a nice guide for my drill bit to drill into the other piece. And then once that's drilled, I can just shove a dowel in there with some more glue, and then this should be really secure. I'm just gonna do my best to eyeball that in the center, and then hit that with some activator. Looks pretty good. And if it's off at all, I can just kind of sand it and fudge it. But so now I should be able to take my drill and just drill into that other sphere a bit. I think I'll throw this in a clamp just to keep stuff from moving around. There we go, nice fit. There's our T-piece. I think this is gonna be pretty cool. That's pretty cool. It's really hard to hold, but it totally works.
That sits a bit better.
Figured I'd bring it outside for the second half. So the next step is just to get this sanded and then paint it up. Oh wait, how in the world am I getting that shot, huh? I set up this old green screen rig that I built like over a decade ago, and it's just green painted PVC, and it makes a great overhead camera rig. So I'm just gonna get to sanding this. All right, this came out pretty good. All the pieces are nice and sanded and smooth. So now to just finish it up with some color. Now instead of using Sharpie like I've been doing, this one I figured I would just paint by hand just to be different. And also I'm hoping that the acrylic paint might give it just a bit more texture so that it just kind of holds itself together and is a little bit easier to, solve. I am going to copy the same color scheme for this one. Now, whenever you're painting something on all sides, that's always a bit of a challenge. You can usually just paint one half, flip it over once it dries, paint the other half. I want to try and just do it all at once. So my idea is to take a thumbtack, discreetly stick it into one of the ends. That'll give me something to hold. I can paint it up, and then I have some double-sided tape on a scrap board. Stick that down and let it dry. I think that'll work pretty good. All right, there we go, one down. I think that looks really cool. I really like this color. I think this thing's gonna look really cool. There we go. There we go. What a nice gray. All right, I'm gonna let those dry. It's acrylic and it's outside, so they should be dry pretty quickly. I'm sure the red's probably already dry to the touch. I'll give them a second coat or touch up if they need it, but that one's done. All right, now I set those over to dry, but before I move on to puzzle 3, my workstation's got paint all over it. Now, if only I had a simple way to refresh this workstation without even having to get up. Oh wait, I totally have a simple way to refresh this workstation without even having to get up. Paper table roll. Ouch. Yeah, I don't want to step on that. All right, that came out really cool. And the paint does add quite a bit more friction, so it does hold itself together a lot better. That's really cool looking. I'm really happy with how that came out. Now, very much like my first woodblock version, these wooden spheres are far from perfect spheres. Just like the wood one, it doesn't sit perfectly square, not nearly as nice as the dice one sits together, which makes a nice tight square and holds together really well. So exactly like how I did with the dice puzzle, I want to make another sphere cube puzzle using plastic spheres that are hopefully much more spherical than these wooden beads. One problem is finding plastic balls is kind of hard. They don't really just make round plastic balls. I could use marbles, but trying to glue together glass marbles probably wouldn't go too well. I'd really have to do some research and find some really good glass glues. I just wanted something plastic. Now there's ping pong balls but those are a little big for the size I'd like. I was thinking a set of bingo balls might work, but then I saw something. So on my desk, I just happened to notice my puzzle ball, which just happens to have a whole bunch of little plastic balls inside of it, which are the exact size I'm looking for. So I'm thinking I convert a puzzle ball into a ball puzzle cube. Now, unfortunately, one puzzle ball is quite a few balls short of the 27 I need, but I was able to find a 4-pack for only a few bucks, and I will only need 3 of them, so I end up with an extra puzzle ball. I'm not really sure the best way to try and crack one of these open, but I'm just gonna see about So actually it looks like these could be opened without even breaking them. These cheaper ones, which is cool. I'm not sure how this one would break. This is a bit more expensive one. But these are great. A nice weight, nice round and spherical, and a sponge. That one's I only cracked a little bit, so there we go. Ooh, plastic ball. 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 There we go. A nice supply of plastic balls. This is actually really kind of cool looking. They're kind of fun to hold. Probably a super dangerous choking hazard, especially since they look like gumballs. I could make a ball puzzle cube out of gumballs. I actually also thought about like bouncy balls, but again, I figured finding the right glue to glue a rubber together would be a bit challenging. Anyway, I think this worked out to be a great solution to my need for little plastic balls. So my next step is to see if my plastic solvent will glue 2 of these together, and if not, I'll try some super glue. Nope, the plastic solvent does not seem to be having any effect on these plastic balls. All right, well they're stuck together, but how strong is it? I have a feeling it's probably going to snap quite easily. It might end up being that finding a glue that would glue these together is just as hard as finding a glue that would glue glass beads together. Oh, that just snaps right off. Maybe trying to stick them together with a 3 pen? Ha-ha! Hey, look at that. I can't believe that worked. I was thinking I'd have to like put it together with like Sugru or something and see how that worked and wait a day, but that worked. I've never had luck melting 2 plastics together. It's good I'm outside. I'm going to get a mask if I'm going to continue doing this, but that's blown me away. That's a permanent bond. Oh, that's cool. Okay, now first, I want to try making like a guide so I can get these glued straight. So I'm just going to take some scrap wood here and glue up something like that. So hopefully I can have something that kind of like quickly press it into and make sure that everything's square and aligned. We'll see if it works. Okay, I'm not planning any color scheme for this. I'm just going to try and choose kind of a random arrangement of colors. And then I'm just going to use the natural color of the ball. I don't want to have to paint this or anything because these already have some really great color in them. So I think I'll just go with a nice, rainbow look and just try and randomly pick them. Moved it too much. Okay, that works. I have a bit of time, and that stays hot for a little while. Wow, this is working really nicely. The guy's working. So now, can I make another guide for like upwards pieces? How would that work? Guess I could just eyeball it. Is this the right piece? Did I do it something backwards? Probably. Yeah, this is backwards. All right, let's see if this actually fits together. It's really slippery. I might need to put some flat spots on it. All right, well that's about as good as that one's gonna get. It didn't come out nearly as good as I was hoping. I was really excited that I found out I could just kind of melt the pieces. That was really cool, but I think I would have to be a lot more meticulous to get this to be as nice as I was hoping. I think I would actually have to build a guide for every single piece, because getting each piece perfectly square in all these directions with spheres is almost impossible. So it doesn't really sit that well. I can get it to sit, but it's not nearly as square as I was hoping like the cubes would be. I think it's doable, but I think I would really need to do a lot more planning. And instead of taking the pieces to the knife, I think taking the knife to the pieces, getting a wood burner with a flat tip and setting up the pieces in the jig, putting the hot tip in, and then pushing it together. That way I could get nice, square, uniform pieces, and I think I would get a much better fit and a much better final product. But I do really like the direction it was going. I think it's a really cool puzzle. It's just a lot more challenging to make than I really thought about. So now trying to get that perfectly in the right spot. Enough to transfer. Aha, look at that. Tiny little dot. We'll melt a hole right here. Hey, that works. Gives it just enough hold so that it stays in place. It's a very, very weak, because they're very tiny magnets, and then heating them up like that demagnetizes them even more, but it is just enough to make this a little bit more usable. There we go. At least now it can somewhat stay together. So I'm slightly more happy with it, but it's still pretty janky. All right, now I said 4 puzzles. So for the final puzzle, as kind of a thank you for watching another puzzle cube video, I wanted to try and do something a bit cooler or just a bit more epic, just to really make it worth your time to have watched. So the final puzzle cube material is giant foam die from the dollar store. So 3x3 of these. That should be a pretty fun size puzzle cube. So let's go ahead and get gluing this up, and then we'll go ahead and paint it and make it look like the rest. To glue it, I'm just going to try some contact cement, contact adhesive. We'll just build it up just like we did the very first wood cube, puzzle cube. Now already there's quite some discrepancies in size, so we'll just do our best. Ooh, giant foam die. Ooh, giant foam die. Ooh, giant foam die. Ah, crap. These are looking cool. Ah! Touching it. Giant puzzle cube pieces. I gotta put this together. T, zigzag, black L. Ah! That is awesome. That's probably the best one. But I don't want to leave it there. I do want to paint it, so I'm going to hit these all with some Plastidip or Flex Seal to prime it, and then go with the red, green, yellow, blue, black color scheme as the other one, and we'll wrap this all up. Now again, to try and paint these all in one go, I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of the fact that I have this frame up and put a little eyelet in each one and then hang them from a string. That should allow me to get to all sides in one go, and then they're already hanging to dry. So let's get to that. So these are awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and get some color on them. I'll do this one first, and I'll do this one red since it was red.
Nope.
We'll take this one down just so I don't risk getting any overspray on it. Oh, that's going on really nice. A nice vibrant red. This one's supposed to be black. I forgot I wanted to match the original color scheme, but that works out, because if there's one I was going to have to do paint over, black over red should be fine. So we'll just let that dry, and then I'll paint that one black. This one blue. Now that's a nice blue. And that's the correct color this time. Now this one is supposed to be red. Well, I think this thing is awesome. It's so ridiculous, it's so big, but I think it came out great. I think the paint looks really good. I think it sits pretty well for how uneven all the different sized foam blocks were. But it definitely holds itself together just fine. It goes together just like all the other ones. The plastic ball one, I just ended up gluing the whole thing together. This was definitely kind of a fail. On camera, this actually looks really nice, especially at this distance, but in person, up close, especially now with all the hot glue putting it together, it's pretty horrendous. I really do love the way these two look, but as a functional puzzle in this format, I didn't really think about the fact that balls really wouldn't be able to sit the same way as cubes, obviously. But the wood one works, And they do look really cool, so even if it's not very fun to try and solve as a puzzle just because it's really hard to get everything to sit, it does look pretty neat. Well, I really hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you found it worthwhile to revisit the puzzle cube with some of these other ideas. If you have any ideas for other things that I could apply this puzzle cube design to, I'd love to hear it. These are just so much fun to make, especially the dice ones. They're super cheap and super easy and fast to make, and you can end up making some really complicated ones. I wish there was a way to like rate these, but I swear this is a level 10. It is so difficult just the way I chose to put those pieces together. Just the fact that, oh crap. See, now that I have it memorized, it's super easy again, but I think it's like a piece like this where you can't just set everything in. These puzzles definitely just kind of stack. This one you actually have to like slide it in, or if you had to have been building it from the different orientation to put it in. This one's just a tough puzzle. You can definitely stump some people. But my sincere thank you for watching. Once again, I am Nicky Clements. If you're wondering, Nick is short for Nicholas, and the D stands for dice. Squared. Cubed. Anyway, I'm off to make more puzzle cubes.